We're at the very top of a mountain, looking down at a sea of white powder. You straighten your board and start heading down to the bottom, picking up more speed as you go, carving your way back and forth. Wish you could have this feeling? Ever want to start snowboarding but don't know what board you should get? Well, I'm here to help with that decision. Today I'm going to explain basics of snowboarding. I will start off by showing you the basics of what makes up a snowboard, how to know which board is right for you, and explain the differences between an all-mountain board and a freestyle board. First thing you need to know is what it is that makes up a snowboard. You actually need three different items that all go together to make up your snowboard before you can hit the mountains. The board itself, bindings, and your boots. All of these are just as important as the next. According to Todd Roberts in Snowboarder's Handbook, if snowboard boots don't fit properly, then the rest of the components' performance are compromised. This is a true statement. If your boots don't fit right, then your feet are going to be sore. They're not going to fit right in the bindings, and which is going to cause the board to feel uncomfortable, and it's just you're going to have a hard time. So now that you know what you need, let's talk about how to get about getting the right board for you. First thing you need to know is that all boards come in different lengths and widths. According to the article Before You Buy a Snowboard on About.com, the length of your board depends on the type of riding that you want to do. For example, if you're looking for a freestyle board, you want one a little shorter. The board should be between your collarbone and your chin. An all-mountain rider should look for one a little bit taller, usually between your chin and your nose. And finally, someone who wants to ride in deep powder and a lot of big mountain riding tends to look for a board that is between your nose and a few inches above your head. The other thing you want to look at is how wide your board should be. You want your feet to stretch almost all the way across the board. Otherwise, if it's too wide, you'll have a hard time applying the pressure on the edges that you need to make your turns. And if your boots are too long, then your board's not wide enough. Your feet, your toes, and your heels can overhang on the board, causing them to drag when you're making a turn, and that cause you to wipe out. Another thing you want to look at is how stiff the board is. The stiffness of the board affects how easily it will be for you to turn. Most beginners and freestyle riders go with a stiffer board, whereas advanced riders tend to have a little more stiffness to the boards for hard packed snow and a softer board for powder. Now, for example, with the boards I have behind me here, I have two different setups. As you can see, my boot roughly hangs over each side a little bit. This one, might be not wide enough, but it doesn't do too bad. This one here, again, hangs over just enough to the point where I'm not going to drag my toes or my heel. Like I said, I have two different setups here. The first setup, as you can see, comes almost up to my nose. A little bit of a stiffer board. I use this board for everyday riding when I'm just out on the mountain screwing around. And this board here is, as you can see, is a little bit shorter. It's almost up to my chin. This board I use more in the park and half pipe. It's a lot softer, turn a lot quicker. It's a better board for the park, and I'll take this one out when I feel like hitting some jumps and grinding on some rails. And there are two main types of boards that people look at. Like I said, you have your all-mountain boards and also known as free ride boards. And you also have your freestyle boards. Like I said, this is kind of my all mountain board and my freestyle board. The first type, your all mountain board, it's a very versatile snowboard. Like the name says, it can be ridden all over the mountain. Tend to be a little more stiffer, a little bit longer. They work well any part of the mountain. Very, very good for a beginner. The second board is my freestyle board, and so this is the kind of board that you'll see Shaun White and other guys using in the X Games when they're up in the air, flipping, spinning around, pulling all their tricks. It tends to be a little bit softer. This mainly because you want a little quicker reaction. You tend to get that from a softer board. And it's, like I said, it's works. It can be ridden anywhere, but it performs best in the park. So now that you know a little bit about snowboards, let's take a look back at what we covered. Today we learned the basics of snowboards. We went over what makes up a snowboard, how to choose the right board for you, and the differences between an all-mountain board and a freestyle board. So I guess now that you know what you're looking for, hopefully you guys will get out there and buy a board, and hopefully this will help you out a little bit. And you guys can one day maybe feel the rush of strapping on your first board and taking that first run down the mountain. I'll tell you, it definitely makes cold winter months go by a lot quicker when you're out on the mountain having some fun. Thank you.